This is Merideth Taylor, and I'm going to be interviewing Joan Groves Briscoe, April 10th, 2004. I will also be with Chris and Willie and Janice Walthour. Okay, so I'm here at Joan Briscoe's house, and Joan Groves Briscoe, and I'm here with her and with Dr. Janice Walthour and with Christopher Groves, who's a student, 9th grade student at Great Mills High School, and we're going to ask her to share some of her story with us about her days at Great Mills High School and her experiences in St. Mary's County. And yeah, you could fill that out later. Why don't you? Yeah,
I can do that.
Take
right.
some thought.
I was just thinking, I didn't.
You could
I
even
didn't notice
yeah,
that.
you could even send it to us if we get short of time. Or
Okay.
so. Thanks a lot for agreeing to do this.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
And we want to start with just to so we can have the whole statement. If you tell us your name, just kind of starting with this, my name is.
My name is Joan Groves Briscoe.
Okay, thank you very much. And feel free to ask questions. I guess I'll just start the ball running, and we'll ask Chris too. But well, what brought you to St. Mary's County?
My father and my mom decided to move to St. Mary's County years ago after my brother was killed in New York. He was coming out of church on a Saturday afternoon, and when he was coming out, he was riding a bike along with a friend who was also riding a bike. And they were laughing as they were riding home on the bike. And another little girl, whom my brother didn't even know, saw him and thought that he was laughing at her little dog. She was a teenager. And so she said to both of the boys, if you get off that bike, it will be your last ride. And they thought, oh, she's being silly and, just don't pay any attention. We'll just go ahead and keep on riding. And she went home and left the dog and got a butcher knife from her mom's kitchen and met them on a corner as they were riding home, and where the other little boy, they were riding in and out on the bikes. My brother happened to be on the inside corner, and she reached back with the knife and she stabbed him to death. And
So sorry.
my mom and my dad just, were just too taken back by that. Just couldn't believe something like that could even happen. Broad daylight reminds me so much of now. Like it was a warning bell. See what can happen and what will happen. And we didn't even live in New York City. We lived in East Elmhurst. This was out in the suburbs. And anyway, my mother and father explained to me what happened. They told me what happened to my brother. And they decided that they didn't want to live in New York anymore. They didn't want to live someplace where something like that can just happen anytime, And so my mother's father was living down in St. Mary's County, and they asked him about, if there was land down here or some availability of work or whatever, because my father was a licensed electrical contractor. And my grandfather told him, yes, there was plenty of land, and back in those days there was, lots of it. And that's how we got down to St. Mary's County, was because of that. And we lived in Hollywood at first. My father was thinking of building a house in Hollywood, and he had even excavated the land. And I was going to Phyllis Wheatley. That's where I met Miss Tillman. And we used to, I'm pretty sure, I think we used to walk to school every day. I mean, that was That was a good little walk. Wasn't too long, but it was a good little walk. By the time you walked over there, your eyes were open. And we went to school there for a while, and then my father changed his mind and decided not to build a house in Hollywood, but to get a piece of land down on 235 in St. Mary's County and to build the house there. Mm-hmm. So that's what he did. And after the house was built, we moved in it. And the interesting thing about living in Hollywood was that we lived in a house that had 3 sides, because my father was going to use the building as a garage. He wasn't going to use it, after he had the house built. He wasn't going to use it for that. Mm-hmm. And so he had a big top that came down on the other side in the wintertime. Mm-hmm. And like I said, that's something I will never forget, as long as I live. 3-sided house. And then we moved in down in Lexington Park. We call it California, Maryland. And I think I know I went to Jarvisville. I remember that. And then I remember going to Cardinal Gibbons, the black private school. Mm-hmm. Father Rock was the director of the school. And the Oblate Sisters of Providence were the ones that were doing the teaching at that time. Mm-hmm. And I remember going there. And while I was going there, my mother and my father were trying to get things straight in the court so that we could do something about going to a white school, and so that we could start things where children went to school according to where they lived, not according to where somebody else wanted to send them. And then also, the black schools never got all the books and the teaching that the white schools got. We always got last year's books that had been used. We always got the worst of everything that anybody had to give us. And so my father could see that. He could see that the educational system was definitely different than the one that we had left in New York. And he didn't want us to be stigmatized by that system. So he agreed to meet with the NAACP and their lawyers and whatnot, and at least try to get us into an integrated school. So he put in for us to go to Great Mills, my brother and myself, and we waited. You know how it takes a while for things to come to court and whatnot, and for them to hear the case and all of this. And the NAACP attorneys were the ones who did the case for us. And they did a very good job. Next thing I knew, instead of going back to to Cardinal Gibbons, we were supposed to go to Great Mills. And I'd never been to the school before. I'd never seen it or anything like that. But my mother and father got us ready for school. The bus picked us up, and we went to Great Mills. But that's how we got into the school.
So that was the Great Mills school bus? The other students on the bus were white?
No. We went on the regular bus over to Jarvisville, and then at Jarvisville, the other bus picked us up. And we were the only 2 people on the bus, and it took us over to Great Mills.
Ah. So what kind of bus was it then? The bus was run by?
It was run by the St. Mary's County Board of Education, just like all the other buses, but we were not allowed to ride the regular bus that all the other Great Mills students were riding to come to school. We went to Jarvisville, which was the black school, and then we transferred from that bus to an empty bus.
Just you and your brother?
My brother and myself. We were the only 2 that were on the bus. And went over to Great Mills.
And this was Conrad?
That's my brother's name was Conrad. That's right. He was, I think, in the 9th grade, and I was in the 12th grade.
So you were in the 12th grade when you transferred?
That's right. Mm-hmm. And see, at that time, because nobody was happy about integration, what the white people had wanted to happen was for integration to take place slowly. Mm-hmm. And what they would do is they would start at kindergarten, and start working your way up. So you wouldn't have any black person graduating from a white school for at least 12 years. You had 12 years, and by that time, you were finished with it. Your children were grown. They were out of the way. Somebody else's kids could, could deal with it. But my father and my mother understood that a whole generation of kids were going to be lost like that, and that was not necessary at all. If you were going to do something, you could at least try. And my father knew that we weren't going to bite anybody's head off, so that all they needed to do was just give us a try. So
I'm curious a little bit more about the court trial, because that's something that wasn't clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually came to the court, and it was a decision. It went fully through a trial, and the decision was handed down by the judge.
Yes, and then it went on to an appeals court, because a lot of people in the school system, a lot of white people in the school system, did not want the integration. So when they lost the case that was in the regular court, they went on to the appeals court, to see if they could get it turned around. And the judge at the appeals court upheld the decision of the regular court. So that went down the drain, and they went on with it. But I think it was Miss Jane Mattingly. I think that's who was the principal of the school at that time. And she admitted that she, did not want integration, and she certainly didn't want it with her,
But do you think her concerns were? Do you have any idea? Did she?
It's just mostly personal. That's the way everybody had grown up all those years.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've grown up like that and been taught a certain way, and I don't know how old she must have been. She looked like she was 100, but she might have been like 40 or 50, something like that. Okay, and she was Miss Mattingly. She was not Mrs. Mattingly. So I say no more. But the point being that she was very indoctrinated in the local ways that everybody had, and neither she nor anybody else that was over there. There were a few teachers over there that I remember that were not from St. Mary's County. Miss Slotkin, she taught business, typing and all that type of thing. And I don't remember the English teacher's name. He was Jerry something or the other. Mm-hmm. But I don't know whether he came down with the base and just stayed on to teach in St. Mary's County or what, but he was, it didn't bother him. Mm-hmm. And when we came to school there, he let me know that he'd do anything he could to help us. And he taught me English. He was a very good teacher, Miss Larkin was a very good teacher. She could really teach, Everybody was not like that, but 2/3 of everybody were like that. Mm-hmm. Because that's where they had grown up, and that's all they knew. And the poor little kids, that's all that they had ever heard. So it was, they were looking when we first came to school, see if we had tails, because they had heard that. And then they were looking to see if we, talked peculiar and funny so that they couldn't understand anything we were saying, They would just look at us over, with a fine-tooth comb because of all the things that they had heard and whatnot. So I can understand, why they had the problems that they had. But it didn't bother me any. I knew I didn't have a tail, and I knew that, I didn't speak any funnier than anybody else. So we just went on and tried to do our school lessons, and that was it, Mm-hmm. I had some friends, didn't have a lot. Mm-hmm. You never have a lot of friends anyway. Mm-hmm. But there were, like maybe 2 or 3 kids that were my friends. And they were good friends to me. They were just as sweet as they could be. A lot of them had, their parents were stationed on the base, and they knew better than all that, stuff they were hearing and whatnot. And so I enjoyed going to school there. And I was very, very grateful and very thankful to all the teachers that were so kind, all the kids, you know, that were kind to me. And the ones that weren't, I just, you know, to this day, I just feel sorry for them, you know. I have to believe that now all that's gone, I have to believe that, you know, you grow up. After a while, yeah, you grow up. And things are not
your
the same.
first day? What the first day was actually like? I had
Well,
the
I
picture
think it
of you
was
leaving home and waving goodbye to mom and dad.
Yeah, I think it was like a half a day. And we were, I think, met at the school by Miss Mattingly, you know, and assigned to our homerooms and that type of thing. So it wasn't anything that was, you know, like all over the place. It didn't have enough time. Half a day, you're not going to get a chance to tear down and do this so much. And I think that might have been good. It might have been good that we didn't have a lot of time. And so I don't remember how many half days we had, but I remember back in those days, you used to have a half day, I think, to get started. And after that, then you had a full day. So we were happy about all that, you know.
What
It
about
was
that
good.
night before? Were you at all, you know,
Well,
worried
yeah,
or
I was more
or-
concerned about what I was going to wear, you know, and whether my hair was like it was supposed to be, and my nails and foolishness, kid foolishness. I didn't have any trouble sleeping. I don't think my brother did. I don't know if he did. He didn't say anything to me about it, you know. So we were just excited, you know. But see, we had gone to school before that was integrated. This was not like this was our first time to go to an integrated school. In New York, you just go to school with everybody. Nobody ever looked at anybody and thought anything about them, one way or the other. So for that reason, that's the reason I think I wasn't, you know, really upset. Because it really wasn't my first time to do that.
How old were you when you moved to St. Mary's County?
You know, I had been thinking about that. And I'm not sure I have really come up with an age that's accurate, but I remember going to parochial school in New York, elementary school, and I remember first, second, and third grade. I don't remember anything after that, so I have to think that I must have been around 8 or 9 years old, something like that, you know, when we moved to St. Mary's County.
Did you ever feel that, I mean, obviously your parents were very dedicated to getting you into the
Right.
white school. Did you
Mhm.
feel the same way yourself? Were
I
you,
was very, very happy that they were trying to get me in a better school. Yeah, I didn't have any problem with that at all. I was glad they never had to, you know, take a stick and make me get up in the morning and go to school. It was never like that. I always got up, put my clothes on, got my homework, you know, did all I could do to do well, you know. So, and Great Mills was a good school. There's no two ways about it. It was definitely a good school. Had good teachers, good books, good curriculum. I was happy to be there.
What were your grades like?
Good. Good. The whole time I was there. My brothers were too. Whatever we, I guess, didn't get in the Banneker, you know, or Phyllis Wheatley or whatever, it didn't stop us from doing well once we got to Great Mills. It wasn't like that at all. And I think maybe because I came from Cardinal Gibbons and it was a private school, I think the curriculum might have been a little better than I might have gotten, you know, at one of the public schools. So I think that had a lot to do with it too. And I thank the Lord for all the preparation we had so that I wasn't so far behind that we couldn't do well once we transferred over to Great Mills. Yeah.
so you graduated at the end of that year? From Great
Graduated
Mills?
at the end of that year. I think I was 16, almost 17. 1959.
1959. And what about your brother? Did he stay there?
No, he didn't stay there. He stayed there for a while, and then he transferred over to Rhyken High School.
Do
So
you know why? Can you tell us anything about why he transferred?
I think my brother suffered a lot of things that I didn't suffer. I really do, and I think because he was a man, he was a boy, and I think it was very difficult for him. And plus, Rhyken just had a tremendous curriculum. They were very, very good. My brother was always very good in science, and over there at Rhyken, they opened up the school for kids to explore the areas that they were good in. Didn't try to hold them back or stop them or anything like that, and they were glad to have him over there. So he didn't have to go back to Cardinal Gibbons. He went on and went with them, and there wasn't any problem that I remember at all over there. If there was anything going on, I don't remember. And I think he, as far as I can remember, I think he graduated from Rhyken.
We know your dad and mom pushed real hard for you all to
Yes.
have better
Yes.
schooling. How were they involved while you were in school? What were some of the things that your mom did to help you and your brothers?
Well, my mom and dad were always interested in our homework, wanted to know what we were doing in school. So whatever it was that we were about, if there was anything that they could help with, then they were right there to help. They were involved with PTA, going to the PTA meetings and whatnot. So they did all the things that they did over at the regular school. They just did it over at Great Mills. And that helped tremendously. Once parents met them and knew that they, weren't odd and I don't know. Maybe we were just an odd family. I don't know. My father looked like he was white. My mother obviously looked very, very colored. So I don't know what folks thought about us. I really don't. But I just know they went on and did everything that they knew how to do to help us and encourage us. Made sure we had transportation to school, made sure we had our lunches or we were able to get lunch at school, made sure that if there was anything we wanted to be involved in at the school, that we had a chance, to go and be involved. And I remember, one thing I do remember, there was a school dance. I don't know whether it was Valentine's Day or what. I don't remember the occasion, but it was a special occasion. And my husband now took me to that dance, and he felt very uncomfortable. They were talking about letting the air out of your tires, and they were going to get you, and all this kind of thing. But see, this again was something that he experienced more than I did. I don't know how to explain it, but back in those days, the man was that was the one you went after more than the woman. And so he had a fit. I mean, he didn't feel comfortable at all. It didn't bother me. They weren't doing anything to me.
What was
but
his?
They were saying all these things to him.
But he wasn't. He wasn't a student there.
No. He
What
graduated from Cardinal Gibbons.
So he was working in the area, or?
You know what? I gotta believe that he was out of school by that time. He's 3 years older than I am, so I have to believe that he was out. But he had a very, very hard time adjusting to that dance. That I will never forget.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your brother's treatment and what? Because it's really important for the students to, to know. I know you're a very positive person, but we also, want to know more of what it was really like, the experience.
Well, he was made to feel uncomfortable, and the kids, the boy students that were at the school, just said and did a lot of things that made him feel very, very inferior. I know this because he used to talk about it when he came home. What somebody said to him, what somebody did to him, what he had to put up with during the day. And so I know that was not pleasant for him at all. It really, really wasn't. I don't know whether maybe people were doing and saying the same thing to me and I was just too stupid or something to pay any attention to it. I really mean that. I don't pay attention to a lot of things that a lot of people, really have a fit about. I don't have a fit about those things. I just said, well, that's true. I'll see you later and go on and do whatever I'm going to do. But everybody's not like that. Everybody's different. And so integration has affected many people many different ways. But I do know that it did affect him. It really, really did.
Were there any examples of things that went on, or that you would share? Or?
I don't know the kids' names, nor would I mention them, I guess, now, even if I did remember them. But I just know that, well, I just know that, you know, there was a lot of, if he was, you know, going to his locker, or if he bent over to pick up something, you know, that somebody was pushing him or kicking him or doing something to him. That was very, very uncomfortable. People calling him names and things like that, that bothered him. And like I say, he was just different than I am. I'm just not like that. I just really don't pay much attention to a lot of things. They just, somebody asked me, did I see it or did I experience it? And I have to say, well, yes, I did. And they asked me, well, did it bother you? And I said, as a matter of fact, I hadn't really thought about it. Now that I'm thinking about it, the answer is no, because I don't even halfway remember it all, you know. Mm-hmm. So he had a lot of experiences that either I didn't have, or if I had them, they didn't bother me the way they bothered him.
We have talked to some other people that we've interviewed and who have talked about some of the treatment that they felt, you know, that you and your brother received, and we never know, you know,
that's right.
Is that a legend or is it? But were there ever any slurs written on lockers, or even I heard that there were something written on your house? Did that actually happen?
I'm not sure if it was written on the house or not, or whether it was on the front lawn or something like that. Mm. But yes, I know there was a lot of that. I mean, that's just the way things like that go. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. You know, I see it and keep going. Like I said, I think it affected my brother much more. My mother and father were not that much affected. Whatever they saw, they washed it off and kept going. You know, I'm thankful for that. I'll be honest. If everything had affected me the way that I know other people saw it affecting me, I would have dropped out. I would not have stayed there all that year and graduated from Great Mills. There's no way in the world I would have let anything bother me like that, plus my studies, plus all the social things you're doing at that age and everything. You know, no way in the world that I could have dealt with all of that at one time. I know I couldn't have.
It sounds like your parents have prepared you well for life.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I must say that. My mother and father really did. They experienced a lot of things and taught us about a lot of things that most kids would have no knowledge of at all. My life was just different. And I know that it was the Lord that had me to grow up the way that I did. Because I could not have done the things that I'm doing now had I not had that experience. No way in the world. Same thing with my husband. If he had not grown up the way he grew up, hard like he grew up, there is no way in the world that he could be doing the wonderful things that he's doing now.
Could you talk a little bit more about that, about how that your experiences have helped you do what you're doing now?
Well, just the experience itself was you know, like chapter 1 in a book. But later on, growing up, I became a mortgage banker, and at that time had a chance to help my people to get homes and get mortgages and do all kinds of things that we had never been able to do. And my husband and I both worked in mortgage banking. And after that, we worked in real estate. And then after that, I remember there was a portion of his life where he worked in the government. Then there was another time when I worked with, I can't even remember, it was the United Planning Organization. Mm-hmm. They're still around. And worked for the Archdiocese of Washington. And then my husband started his own for profit-making business, Touch of Care Contracting. And he retired from that some years ago. And he retired from that to work full-time in the mission that we have now. And we've been working at that mission for the last 20-some years. For years we had the mission right here in the house, downstairs in the basement. And when the Lord was telling us to move it, I didn't want to move it, and my husband didn't want to move it, and we weren't going to move, and we thought everybody's being unfair to us. But no matter what we did, we had to move. So we found a place. My husband found a place. And we're still in that place right now. And I look at the mission now and what it was downstairs in my basement. I said, oh, Lord, why in the world did I ever think the Lord wanted us to stay in the basement of anything, you know? And my life years ago, all of the things that happened, the positive things, the negative things, all of those things, all those different jobs helped us to be able to do what we're doing right now. My husband for many years worked on a van line where every inch of space counted. And so now he is able to take a little bit of space and just do wonders with it in terms of storing food, in terms of putting it up, rotating it, and all that type of thing. I mean, it's just unbelievable what the Lord will let you go through. He grew up very, very poor in Tall Timbers, Maryland. Had very, very little. And he'd been working and going to school ever since he was about 8 or 9 years old at the corner store that was down there. And all of those things about how to rotate the food, how to keep everything clean, how to move the shelves, all that stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable the way that we learned how to have a mission without actually, going to work in a Giant or a Safeway or something like that. Unbelievable. With the kids, I guess I was older when the Lord spoke to me and I was able to work with them and do things with them that I would never have done when I was younger. Wouldn't have done it. But the Lord showed me that, there's just lots of kids that just have needs that I've never had, and that He wanted us to share what He had given us with other children. He wanted us to give what we had, not to just be on the taking, all the time. And so we were able to do all these things at the same time, take care of the kids and had the mission. I don't know what we were doing for a living at that time. I can't even believe it. Instead of spending our money like everybody else was spending it, He told us to get out of debt. And so we began to, I said, well, I don't know, we got so much debt, because that's all everybody was doing was, taking the charge plates back in those days. Oh, my goodness. I mean, everybody was having a ball. And I couldn't figure out how in the world we were ever going to pay all that off. And my husband told me, he said, I know how. One way we can do it. He said, instead of, paying $10 to this one, $5 to this one, he said, no. He said, what we're going to do is, when I get my paycheck, we're going to take whatever it is and pick a bill and take all the money and put it on that bill. And then when I get paid the next time, we take all the money and put it on that bill till we get it paid. Mm-hmm. And we'll write to everybody else and tell them that ask them to, to please be patient with us, that we're getting out of debt and we need them to help us. By just waiting in line until we were able to pay them. And so that's how we got out of debt years ago, before any of this was popular. And it was a good thing that we did, because now that the economy is falling apart, it doesn't make any difference. And I mean, the house is paid off. Everything's paid off. That's all I can say.
Wonderful. It's a blessing.
It is. I mean, it is so much of a blessing that I can really shout hallelujah. I'm so glad now. I was so mad at the time. I said, why we got to be the ones to pay our bills on? I don't care anything about that, you know. And my husband just encouraged me. He said, oh, yeah. He said, I can see why Lord would tell us to do that. He said, it's crazy to, you know, go around owing everybody anyway. And so, you know, we went on and paid everything off. And I just thank God because we ended up with 5 children, 3 of them natural and 2 adopted. And if we had not paid everything off, we could not run the mission and take more children in and do all the things we've been able to do. No way in the world, if you got a whole bunch of debt, you just can't do it. And people got all these houses out here. You know, I don't know how many bedrooms I've got, maybe 6 or something like that. But the point of it is that most of them have just themselves living in the house. That's it. And the rest of the house just sits there. You know, and it's just, when you think about a lot of things and the needs that we have, and you think about how different things would be. And both of the kids that I have were just wonderful children that we adopted. They're absolutely wonderful. Both of them had parents that were either in prison or they were on drugs or something of that nature. And so I'm learning now about all of the horrible things that happen with the next generation when you conceive them and bring them into the world like that. Never would have guessed it. I don't know what I thought. I watched my son, that's 8 years old now, I watched him go through withdrawal when he was a little baby. I've had him ever since he was about 3 months old. I've learned a lot. Let me tell you, I've really learned a lot. I really have.
Speaking of the next generation, maybe we should ask Chris, as a current Great Mills High School student who's studying this desegregation process, do you have some questions for Mrs. Briscoe about her experience?
My high school there now. This is something I'd like to know.
High school there, I'll describe it as like a routine for me. Like get up every morning, get on the bus, another boring day, sort of like kind of tired, whatever. The day gets a little interesting, maybe during lunchtime. And then after lunchtime, you have class again. That gets kind of boring. Then at the end of the day, you can't wait to get home.
Are there any black teachers there now, or is everybody there teaching still white, or what?
The majority of the teachers are white. Can think of like a couple of teachers, but they're really more of a behavioral, like SDC, which is sort of like children who need like a little help during school days. Then they have like hall monitors that also can be they substitute for classes. But the majority of the teachers there are Caucasian.
Okay.
What about your principal?
Our principal is black. Miss Limas, Dr. Limas, is black.
Oh, okay. Isn't that something? Yeah, it's really different. When I was there, all the teachers were white. No talk of even interviewing anybody, you know. So.
Not until 66.
66, that's when the first.
67, there were 3 or 4 African-American teachers that came in.
The Lord. Isn't that something?
More than now, maybe.
From
From Carver.
From George Washington Carver.
That's good. That's wonderful.
Chris, though, don't you have some questions? Should turn that on you. Yeah, I mean, what have you wondered about with this Because we've been talking a little bit about the process, and we did look at documentaries of some of the violent confrontations at Little Rock, you know, in '57.
That's right.
And we know that that kind of thing didn't happen, but
No.
we have heard descriptions of some treatment that made people feel less than welcome, like throwing open the windows when they came into the classroom, like sort of treating them like they were a disease or something, backing away
That's
from
right.
them.
That's true.
A couple of people who were boys reported some being beaten up or threatened with being beaten up, that kind of thing.
Right.
But
Was no doubt about it.
that was
And-
much
and-
later than when you were there.
Oh yeah, that's
I
what
mean,
I'm
that was
saying.
several
See,
years later.
this was just, you know, whatever I remember or whatever happened with me was just something that the Lord, I guess, for whatever reason, it was time to change, and He just made a way for me to be able to stay there, you know, and take it. But a lot of the kids that went there after that, I'm sure they, you know, were subjected to harsh treatment. I remember at one point the police, you know, riding with us to school in their cars, you know, to make sure that everything was orderly. You know, there were a lot of things that could have happened, believe you me, that did not happen. And some of the things that did happen, I just praise God that I was able to you know, to just deal with it, go through it, and stay there and graduate. I really am, because it didn't have to be that way.
Do you think, was it just at the beginning that the police rode with you just out of precaution, or was there something that happened, or
No, they weren't waiting for anything to happen.
that it just
No. They went right along to begin with, from first day of school. And I praise God for the wisdom of whoever ordered the police to, you know, to be there and to help us. Because it didn't have to be that way. We could have just gone to school, and after something happened, then here come the police, you know. But it didn't happen that way. Not at all.
Do you think that was someone in the school system that?
I'm sure somebody on the Board of
Yeah,
Education.
on the Board
I'm
of
certain
Education.
somebody did. I don't know who it was. Whether it was the NAACP or some white group or whatever,
The
but-
lawyers you said in the court case were, did they come down from Washington, the NAACP
yes.
lawyers?
Yes, indeed. Right.
And you don't remember, do you?
Clarence
who was
Mitchell. Yeah.
involved?
Mhm.
Oh, Clarence Mitchell.
Yeah.
I
And
heard-
his wife, Juanita.
Juanita.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So because really that was just 4 years, or, well, actually, the court case you must have started in 56 or 57? Or?
I have no idea now that, as you're
'Cause that
asking
usually
me,
takes a while. So
I know that it had to have.
it wasn't very long after Brown versus Board of Ed, that
Mhm.
1954, so it was
Right.
shortly after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you have that sense of pride at all in being that we were pioneers, you know? How did you feel about that?
I was just very grateful to the Lord for letting me go and letting me graduate and get out of there. One thing that did help me was the fact I only had one year. See, that was
Yeah.
another thing that I think that bothered my brother. My brother came in ninth grade, so he had all the rest of his high school to have to deal with that kind of mess.
Yeah.
That's difficult.
You have that finite,
really
you know, think, okay, I got to go from here to here, I can do it, huh?
That's the way I did it. I said, you know, that's all I got to do. 1 year and I'm out of here. And I said, praise the Lord.
What about extracurricular activities? Did you get involved? Were you able to?
I didn't do any extracurricular activities like basketball, playing on their team, anything like that. I don't remember now if I did anything else. I just have no memory of it. If I
Clubs
did.
or
If I did,
Okay.
I just don't remember it right now. I really don't.
were you, do you remember being invited to join any extracurricular
Oh, I am
activities?
sure that I wasn't invited to join anything that I can remember right now. My memory might be faulty, but I don't remember staying after school or staying late at night or coming back to school at night for a meeting or, to help with anything like that.
But you did
Not
say
right
that some
now.
of the students as well as teachers were welcoming and
Oh,
helpful.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They were very, very nice to me. They really were.
Thank goodness for a few.
Yeah.
Think of anything yet?
Yes. I was wondering, did your brother ever communicate with other white children?
Oh, yes. No doubt about it. There were a lot of kids that were very kind to him, very good to him while he was over there. There weren't a whole lot of them that were mean and nasty, but it's just hard when you're in the 9th grade and know that you're going to have to deal with this all the way through the 12th grade. I mean, if I had been in there in the 9th grade and had to deal with some of the things that I'd had to deal with, I'm sure I would never have graduated. It's just hard. I'm just being honest. It's very, very hard. It was just easier for me to do 1 year than it was for me to have to do 3 or 4 years. And I know that.
So after your brother graduated, he said possibly he graduated from Rhyken.
Rhyken. Mm-hmm.
What did he do after he graduated?
Well, I was married then, and I think we were living in Texas, and he went to school down in Texas Western College. Yeah. But he didn't stay in St. Mary's County, though.
And did you leave? When did you leave St. Mary's County?
As soon as I could after I graduated. Yeah, I did not stay there.
What about your folks?
So-
Did they stay?
They did for a while. Yeah, they did for a while. There were no more children after my brother graduated. See, my brother didn't graduate the same year as I did, so they were still there with him the next 3 years to finish high school. But after he finished high school, period of time, my father, as I remember it, when we were little kids, had always wanted to go to Monrovia, Liberia. The president of Monrovia had visited us in New York, and in fact, almost every time he was in the country, he'd come over, and we would fix dinner for him, and he'd see all the things that were going on in America and all the things that were missing there. And Monrovia, back in those days, was the most advanced African nation, and so my father at that time had wanted to go to Monrovia, but after what happened with my brother being stabbed to death and whatnot, he decided not to. He decided to wait. He decided not to bring the rest of us children up in Monrovia. If he was concerned about what happened with my brother, the way to solve that was not by taking us to Liberia. So, and I'm glad that he felt that way, because I don't think it was either, especially with all the stuff that's going on now in Liberia. Things have just changed, and that was, believe you me, that was not the way to do it. So after my brother got out of school, they were still after him to come to Liberia. And so since he had his own license and everything with his business, they wanted him to come over there and be in charge of the infrastructure of them, getting everything together and getting new things and making sure that they were up to code and, all this kind of thing. So my father did. He went over there, and shortly thereafter my mother went over. And they had a house there. They stayed there for years. And then I don't remember where they went, but I know one place that they ended up in, and before they came back here, was Cayman Islands. And they lived there for a while, had a house over there, and then they asked if they could come back here and live with us, and that's why we put the wing on the back of the house. And we really enjoyed them. They were really good to be around, and always had something interesting that they could share with us, you know.
Did your father ever have any discrimination problems in his employment in St. Mary's County?
I really don't know. I'm sure he did. But my father was not one to complain. He would talk with my mother about things, a lot of things that I'm sure he never shared with us or never let us hear. I know that my father had a good business, and he did business with black people as well as with white people. So he did very well.
Did
That
he have
I do know.
an independent business?
Yes, he was an electrical contractor, and he was licensed. All the time that he worked in St. Mary's County, he tried to hire black people to work with him, because he knew that he was getting older, and he knew that, you know, there wasn't going to be a whole lot more for him to be able to do there. But one of the things that really blessed him, or he would have been blessed, is if he could have trained somebody in the business so that they could, you know, just go ahead and they could take the business. After he finished it, he wasn't interested in it, you know. But it was difficult. It's difficult getting older people to change. Just like it's difficult to have white people change overnight, it's difficult to get black people to change too. And so it was difficult for him to find somebody that wanted to do this and was interested in doing it. But he did all he could with whomever he could do it with. And he had to leave it like that.
What about his efficiency, your efficiency partner?
Well, when he left, he sold the house, and the efficiencies are still down there, and somebody still got them. The house is just going to pieces.
And when you
So.
say he could have been the first African American
Oh,
to build a set
Oh,
of
he
efficiency
was.
apartment,
There's no doubt about that.
right there in Lexington
No
Park.
doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. Absolutely. But he knew one of the reasons why a lot of people, black people didn't stay, or they didn't like staying in the county, was because, you know, a lot of times they'd come there, and except for a room in somebody else's house, you couldn't have a place of your own to get started, you know. And so he had the idea that if he built these efficiencies, that new teachers coming in, people who were new on the base, contract-wise, not in the service, but hired by the service to do something, they would all have a little place to stay. And something very, very nice. Didn't have to worry about furniture or anything. It was all furnished. You know, it was good. It was the best idea he'd had.
Now,
Really
a
was.
lot of younger people might not know why that was. You said that there wasn't really any place to stay.
No, there wasn't.
So why was
No.
that?
Well, when you live in the South, and it was definitely a Southern community, the only thing that perked us up was the base. Other than that, there wasn't anything there.
So
You know.
hotels or motels?
Oh, today that's the same. Well, that's how I feel. Like there's not much out here in the area of St. Mary's County. When you go on base, there's the drill hall. People like going there,
Yeah,
shooting hoops and stuff.
right.
Going
No,
to
there
the
still isn't a lot down there. There still isn't. My father couldn't make St. Mary's County what he wanted it to be. But he did what he could do to make it better than what it was. I'll put it that way.
So he was very much an activist, it sounds like.
My father was very active. He was not one to sit back and see something a certain way and not do something about it, if he could. And even if he wasn't successful, he'd still try. That's just where he was.
Did they go participate in the PTA or ever run
Yes.
for office or?
Yes, he was on the Board of Education at one point, and yeah, he went to the PTA meetings. Yeah, he did all of that stuff. That's
He
just
was on
way
the
it
Board of
was.
Education for
At
the
one-
term? or-
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so during that time, there were changes he was trying to make, you think, still on the Board of Ed? Was that
yes.
after you had
You know,
already-
I don't remember whether
Okay,
that
before or
was
after.
before or after. I don't think he was on the Board of Education at the time when I was at Great Mills. That's my remembrance. But I do know that he was a member of the board. It was probably after I graduated. I can't imagine anybody in St. Mary's County letting a black person be on the Board of Education with no integration in the schools. Why would they integrate the Board of Education? You know.
Well, there was actually Clarence
So.
Young was on the Board of Education. He was appointed in 55 and he started serving in 56. So he actually was on the board, and I think he felt like he participated in
That's good.
the preparations for you and your brother
probably
entering
did.
Great Mills.
Yeah, he probably did.
And he had very good things to say about your father.
Yeah,
Certainly.
my dad really tried hard. He really did, but he wasn't a person to just sit around, you know, and just talk about what he heard somebody else said happened. If he heard something that had happened, he would go and talk to the person and find out more about it and whatnot. And if it had really happened, you know, he would do what he could do. But he knew that a lot of the problems that black people had at that time had to do with education. I mean, I don't care whether somebody should have said this to you or they shouldn't have done this to you or not. He knew that education had a lot to do with it. If you're not well educated, if you don't have the ties that you should have to the community, if you're not there participating like you should be, then a lot of things you're just out of it. You're really just out of it. And he knew that's the reason why I think that a lot of his attack was with the school system, because he felt if he could get a group of black kids coming out of school that were well educated and into it and get them to stay down there and get them to work down there, that the place would change. And it has. I mean, so much that I have seen and so much that I hear about now is so different than it was 40 or 50 years ago. I know it has changed. I know it's changed. And a lot of that has to do with education. At least I think it does.
You know, he actually made a statement that was quoted in the article in the Enterprise, and that it wasn't just that he thought, anyway, I can't remember verbatim, but not just going to better schools, because, you know, as you said, actually, say Cardinal Gibbons, you'd had a good education, you didn't feel behind, but that he wanted his children to experience integration, because they would be in that kind of situation after they graduated in business.
That's right.
So it was more, you know, just wanting them, it sounded like, to have some kind of a kind of interaction, not just that it was a better
He
school.
did, but you can't have that without education first. There's nothing to interact with. I mean, who wants to hire you or use you in a business or in any kind of a setting if you don't have some education? And that was just I don't care whether you wanted to be a secretary, whether you wanted to be a barber, or, you know, what you wanted to do or what you wanted to be. A good basic education was a good start. It wasn't a finish, but it was a good start.
Do you remember suspensions and expulsions and things like
Yes,
that
I do. I
from
remember
your
that.
time? And
Yes.
what
Yes, I
were
do.
some of the things that were going on along that line?
I don't remember specifically what the suspensions were for, but I do remember suspensions and things of that nature taking place while I was during that 1 year that I was at Great Mills. And I feel sad. I feel sadly about a lot of it. I really, really do. I think a lot of it just happened. I don't know whether it was because some of the kids were kind to us, the white kids. Somebody was just looking for something to pin on them or something to do to them or what. But Yes, I do remember suspensions. Yes, I do. And I do remember teachers and kids just telling me to just go on and do the very best that I could do under the circumstances and not to get caught up in what they were caught up in. I really do.
I have a question. Have you heard of this achievement gap that's going on across our country now, where we look at our African American and minority students, and you look at test scores, and the test scores for the African American, maybe Hispanic in some cases, are so much lower than white students and even Asian students. And the discipline and behavior management, social, just the whole social environment that, for instance, when you were there, all that was going on because of the integration had, you were forging ahead. Now it's all integrated and the opportunities are there,
but the gap is still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
The same thing that I said before, that my father could not make anybody be something if they didn't want to be that themselves, or if they didn't have the education or background to go with the flow. And it was just very, very difficult at that time, as it is now, to get people interested in becoming something or doing something that they don't want to do or they don't want to be. I'm sure drugs has taken its toll in our race. I'm sure that alcohol has taken its toll. How do I say this? Segregation and the things that have happened to black people have just done a lot with us that have never happened with anybody else. Spanish-speaking people never had to go through the problems that we did as far as segregation is concerned. They had some problems, but it was not that problem. The Indian people had problems, but they never had the problems we did with segregation. That just does something to people. I don't know how to explain it or to say it in words, but it does something that nothing else that other people have ever experienced, have had to go through. There's no other group of people that are part of this gap that we're talking about that have gone through what black people have been through. It's dangerous.
This may get like a little off topic. I was just curious. How many like foreign students, like foreign exchange students, like came during? Were there any?
None, right?
No.
Were there any of them that were with us?
Yes.
Not that I know of. No. I just tell you, segregation is just very dangerous. If you look at any group of people that are involved in this gap that we're talking about, black people seem to be ahead of everybody else in terms of needing help. And the only reason that I can see, the only thing that's different, that I know is different, was the problem that we had with segregation.
The legacy of slavery, of separate but equal, was inherently unfair.
That's right.
So it wasn't just that the schools were worse or better.
That's what I'm saying, segregation. I don't care whether it's with the schools, whether it's in marriage, whether it's in the community, whether it's with PTA, whether it's with your job. I don't care what it's with. It's very dangerous. It's so dangerous. It's something that can be passed on from one generation to the next generation. And where kids have lived in the South for years and years and years, and that's all they've heard as young people, that's all they've heard as adults, they just don't, in their minds, they just don't think about becoming something. It just doesn't occur to them. Now, with some black people, it does. Some of us just don't pay any attention to whatever we had to put up with or what somebody else thought or said, and we just go on and you go to school and you become what you want to become, you do what you want to do. You don't pay any attention to all of that. But you have to be raised different than the norm. You really, really do.
What about your mom? Was she, did she share your father's ideals and activism?
Yes. Without a good woman, a good wife, a good homemaker in the house, a man can never become all the things that he becomes. Can't do it. She was right there all the time, 150% behind him, 300% behind him. She was always there doing whatever she could for us kids, all the time. She was a super mom. Mom just died year before last. And I had her here in the house as long as I could have her here, but the doctors were trying to explain to me about how your bones can deteriorate without you breaking them. I mean, you can just be sitting still, and if there's no calcium in your system, you know, like you should have, you can just get up and break something. You know, it's gone. And so eventually we had to move her from here in the house to a nursing home. And Mama died in a nursing home. But Mama was very, very much on top of things. I'm not sure how old she was when she died because we never got a birth certificate from Mama. So she was maybe 100, or maybe she was 95 or something like that. I'm not really sure. But Mama was older, and Mama did all she could for all of us, all the time. But she never tried to be out front. She never tried to promote herself or anything like that. Never.
Did your parents grow up in New York?
My mother grew up in St. Mary's County. She went to Morgan State College in Baltimore. My father grew up in New York, and my mother was in New York acting as a governess when she met him.
That's right, because you said her father lived here.
That's
so
right.
What was her name, her maiden name?
Bankins.
Bankins.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Other questions? Do you have
anything else you can think of?
Any you have for us?
What were like some of the places that you and your brother used? Like, did you have like any family days, like where the family would go out, have? Like,
well, we were very, very active with our church. We were born and raised Catholic, and back in those days, the church was very, very active in a lot of things. When we went to Cardinal Gibbons, every time you turned around, there was something for Valentine's Day, or something going on for Christmas, or something going on for Thanksgiving. Every holiday, the schools were involved with it too. So we were involved with everything that was going on in the community. Anything the PTA had, whether it was a dinner or a special meeting or anything like that, kids, went with that. The high school dances and stuff like that, we were involved with all of that. And we enjoyed it. We really did. It was a good way to grow up. We were not by ourselves. Let me just tell you that. We didn't try to be by ourselves. We weren't interested in being by ourselves. And I never even thought about it, being by myself, And then in the summertime, the churches used to have the big church dinner. And every church had a big church dinner. Every last church. And they invited everybody, whether you lived in St. Mary's County or you had lived there or you used to live there, or whatever the case was. And so the summer was full of church dinners. And so everybody tried to go to a church dinner. You were always interested in what dress you were going to wear and who was going to take you and whether you were going to cook something. See, because for your own church now you'd be doing some cooking. See. And so you take whatever you made, whatever you could do down there, you did that. But for the other ones, then you would come as a guest, and you'd participate. But no, there was a lot of stuff going on down there all the time. It was really great.
What church did you go to? I'm sorry, I just wanted to...
Immaculate Heart of Mary.
Immaculate Heart of Mary.
That's where I got married.
Wouldn't you say, though, that at that point, Immaculate Heart of Mary was pretty well integrated? But the other churches were the
No, they were
segregated
not.
church
That's right.
dinners.
That's right.
And
That's right.
would you say that the families did a lot together because the churches promoted family and the schools
Yes, they did.
promoted family activities?
That's right. There's no doubt about it.
Yes. So
And
it's
everybody,
changed.
the teachers and or the pastor or whoever it was, that was in charge of that particular entity, invited everybody and wanted to know from everybody, well, what are you going to do? What's your family going to bring? Or what are you going to do? Because see, there was music.
Yes.
So some people were doing music
Yeah.
with the band, and then there was always a dance. So
People.
somebody was coming to the dance that didn't come to the dinner. Or if you went to the dinner, you might not come to the dance, and you might go to all of it. When we were young, we tried to go to all of it.
Right.
We
Did
tried to do
bingo?
everything. Bang! You had everything. You just wanted to, whatever it was that went on down there, we were involved with it. No doubt about it. And there was plenty going on. And then there was the transition for integration in the churches, because see, when we first moved down there in Hollywood, we went to St. John's Catholic Church, and that was located in Hollywood. And as I remember it, families, I guess, used to buy pews or whatever. And so all the white families had all the pews up in the front of the church.
They rented them. Pew
Or
rent.
rented them, yeah, something like that. And I was younger, so I didn't really, I'm not saying I really had the lowdown on it, but I knew that somehow or another, I had heard about people buying or renting or something, the pews. So the black people, I guess, were renting, they got to rent the pews in the back. Because the white people got first choice for all the pews. So, it was just, like I say, segregation is so institutionalized until it's just not funny. It's really, it's tragic that it's as institutionalized as it is. Every place, it wasn't just the schools that were segregated. Your church was segregated too. But the Immaculate Heart of Mary, was not in bad shape like a lot of the rest of the schools and churches and things like that. And it was because the Immaculate Heart of Mary was located in Lexington Park, which was just a couple of miles up from the base. And people from all over the world were on the base, and you couldn't have any segregation at all on that base. None at all. And so when the people came off the base into the town and everything, they weren't looking for anything to be, like it was. And that helped a whole lot for the church, because they belonged to the church, or they went to the church, or they helped with things that were at the church. And Father Carr, who was over there at that particular time, he wasn't like that. So, all those kind of little things, a little bit here, a little bit there, is what helped St. Mary's County to come up and be more like what it was supposed to be. But like Chris said, today there's still in a whole lot that, going on there socially. It's, sort of quiet compared to a whole bunch of places.
What did you think of St. Mary's College back then? Did you know it existed?
Yes, I did. I most certainly did. It was a junior college at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I thought it was nice that it was there. But St. Mary's College at that time never had much of a name or anything like that. I mean, you never heard anybody from any place saying, I want to send my child to St. Mary's College. It wasn't like that. Now I understand it's a full 4-year college. And little girl that lives right across the street is going to school there.
Oh.
So I think it's come a long way. That's what I think.
Well, it wasn't integrated till 62.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm certain it wasn't. I don't remember any of us going over there. But that's great. That's wonderful. I'm glad that it's coming up and it caught on to the idea and it's moving in it now. I really am. I really, really am.
Well, do we have any more questions?
Like in the household, did you have how was your relationship like with your mom?
It was just good. It was very good. She
Have,
taught me.
Talks with her?
Yes, and back in those days, one of the most important things for you to learn was your etiquette. That's not now. Nobody does that anymore. But back in those days, if you had a mama that really was on the ball and whatnot, one of the things that she worked with you, in addition to your homework, was your etiquette. And she had an etiquette book, and she would, every day, she would teach you something. You read something out of the book. How you're supposed to set the table. How you were supposed to serve people. How you were supposed to dress for a special occasion or whatever. It's wonderful. I had a wonderful time with my mom. Good relationship. I loved her very much. She taught me how to sew. She taught me how to cook. Taught me how to clean up. Taught me how to, I'm sure she's one that helped me learn how to drive, Mama just did a whole bunch of things to help my father. She was there all the time with all of us kids.
It seems like they're sort of trying to bring it back, as an extra elective, you have family consumer science, where they teach you how to sew, how to cook, how to do like simple household things, like how to set the table, like you said. I remember doing that when I was like in the 7th grade, I think. And my mom, I learned, like before that, I learned from my mom how to cook, so
Yeah, right.
I'm basically the one cooking around the house.
Right. But that was the way it was years ago. Kids learned how to do everything that their parents knew how to do. That was it. That was the parents' job, to work with you and to be there for you. And if your mom did that for you, I tell you, you're really blessed, because I don't know when parents stopped teaching kids etiquette. I have no idea. But I know when I was little, that all the time I was growing up, that was very much part of my learning. Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else you've thought of you'd like to say about your experiences in St. Mary's County, or something else?
Well, I'm just glad for everything that happened to me there, because it helped me to, at a given time when the Lord was ready for me to give my heart to Him, give my soul to Him, my whole life to Him, it helped me to be prepared so that I was ready to say yes to Him. I was here, home. I wasn't at a regular church when I gave my heart to Him, and I'm just glad for it. I'm glad for everything that happened in my life, and the reason that I wasn't in a church was because of so many of the negative things that had happened to me earlier in life, and things that I had seen since I had been grown that I knew weren't right, Like we said before, the churches were just as much at fault as everybody else. And it's bad when your leader is wrong. It really, really, really is. And that's one of the reasons why I guess the United States is going to go through some of the things that we're going to go through now. It's because when leadership has been poor, it's taken too many years for it to get like it's supposed to get. It does a lot of damage. It really, really does. And I had gone astray, and I was able to hear the Lord when He spoke to me. I was able to say yes to Him, and I was able to argue with Him, and He told me that He wasn't going to change to suit me, no matter what I thought. And that I was going to have to come His way and do it His way. And I was going to have to get my life straightened out. And I praise God and I thank Him so much for all that, because every little bit of that has helped me so much over the years. It's been unbelievable. And I thank Him for that. But if I had not had these things happen in St. Mary's County, all of the things that happened, a little bit here, a little bit there, my life would never have turned out the way that it is now. So I'm grateful for every bit of it, the positive things and the negative things. They've all, life is not just positive things. Sometimes some negative things have to come in to smooth out and not, so that you don't go too far one way or too far the other way. So I'm very, very thankful for everything. Thankful for you all coming up here.
Well, we're very thankful to you for sharing all this with us. It's wonderful.
I had no idea you were even in existence. All the times I've talked to the newspapers, and all the times I've talked to my family, and I visited down there. We go fishing down there a lot of times.
Oh, do you?
Oh,
Are you
yeah,
down
my
there
husband. Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. But never had any idea that you all were doing all the wonderful things that you're doing. And I'm just so very, very glad, because I'm sure this is making a big difference in a lot of people's lives. I really believe that.
It'd be wonderful to think that.
Yeah.
Huh?
History in the making.
Yeah.
No, it really, I know it is. I know it is. I'm just sure that it really is. And I thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.